Good afternoon, everybody. Thank you for joining us on this webinar with AmaWaterways, looking at cruising on the Douro River in Portugal and Spain. What we're going to do is, we've got Rachel Simon and Cesaria Santos from AmaWaterways here. Rachel's going to explain a bit about the AmaWaterways experience, what's offered, what's included, and where they sail. We'll then pass over to Cesario, who will tell us all about Portugal. Cesario is a cruise manager on the Portuguese rivers, so we'll be able to tell you all about what you will experience on that particular cruise on the Douro. So thank you again for joining us. We hope you do enjoy it. We'll do some questions at the end, so you can use the chat system whilst we're going. I think there's a chat function. And we'll pick up everything towards the end. And I will now hand over to Rachel.
Lovely, thank you so much, Simeon. Lovely that you're all joining us today on this lockdown day, another day in paradise for all of us. So hopefully we're going to inspire you on some future holidays and take you down some fabulous rivers through the Douro through Portugal. And Cesario, who knows these rivers inside out, is going to tell you all about those itineraries. I'm just going to give you a quick overview of who AmaWaterways are and a little bit about the ships and the facilities you can expect on board the ships. And yeah, please feel free to ask questions at the end. And we appreciate that not everybody perhaps thinks of a question, but you can always get in touch with Alex and Simeon afterwards if you want to, and we can answer those questions for you. So just to start off, who we actually are, we're a 5-star luxury cruise operator, and we celebrated our 18th birthday last year. On the picture in front of you, you can see our 3 lovely owners. We've got Rudy, Christine and Gary. They're all based out in Calabasas in Los Angeles, and they're very hands-on within the business, and it's a fabulous company. We're all really proud to work for them. Rudy designed some of the ships, and Christine's actually done some of the interior decor, just to name a few of the little things that they do. And the year before, Gary came out and met some travel agents with me. So they're very much involved in the business and like to know what's going on. And it's really nice during these times that we find ourselves in, that they actually are planning ahead on new ships, new opportunities, new places to travel to, long haul. So it's really exciting that they've still got all these fabulous plans ahead for us all. So we have 25 ships in our fleet. We sail through most of the major rivers in Europe, which I'm just going to show you a map in a bit with all the destinations that we go to. In addition to that, we do the Mekong and the Chobe River in Africa, and also for this year now, we've got Egypt starting in September. So all of the ships are owned and paid for, apart from the one on the right-hand side there, the Zambezi Queen, the small ship in Africa. We actually charter her, but all the others are owned. And again, in these times that we find ourselves in, the fact that our owners have paid cash for the ships, you know, that's really reassuring in these times. So a little bit about us. We're really proud to be rated the highest rated fleet in Europe. We've got the Ama Christina there, named after one of our co-owners, and she's the #1 rated ship within the fleet. AmaWaterways have got 6 out of 10, so in the top 10 slots we hold 6 positions, and that's independently rated by a gentleman who's got an most amazing job. Doug Ward goes through all the river ships within Europe, and there's over 240 of them, and the States, and he rates them all on the food, the service, the facilities, the shore excursions, and produces a guide with all of these ships in. So if you're ever looking at different ships, you can get a copy of that guide and see the ratings, and that's independent. But yeah, we're really proud to have 6 out of the top 10. So with the ships that we're talking about today on the Douro, we've got 2 ships on the Douro. We've got the Ama Douro, and we've also got the Ama Vida. These are slightly smaller than our normal ships just because of the size of the Douro River. Our normal ships average about 156 passengers, but these take 102 passengers. So we've got 52 staterooms. The Ama Douro was built in 2019 and the Ama Vida in 2013. So they're both fairly new ships. I'm going to show you some of the facilities that we have on board. Before I do that though, I must tell you about our fabulous crew, of which Cesario is one of them. And I'm not doing this just because he's sitting there as well. I'm always really impressed when I get on board that the crew are just fantastic. Nothing's too much trouble. They remember your name when you go down for dinner, which I find incredible with the number of passengers that they actually see. I like a nice little cup of tea in the morning. I used to go down for breakfast and there'd be a cup of tea. As soon as they see me, they'd get the tea ready. And I also eat vegetarian food, and they come and say, we've got this fabulous vegetarian burger for you. It's lots of layers of vegetables. It was just so impressive. They really do make your holiday special by looking after you. And when you sort of reflect on memories of what makes your holiday special, well, it's the hotel or the ship that you're on, obviously the destination, the food, and the staff also make that really unique. So we are really, really pleased to have such a fantastic crew that we work with. So I'm just going to show you some shots. These aren't off the actual ship because I've got a variety of shots of different ships, but the format's still the same. So this is a typical sort of reception area that you'd see on board the ships. This is where you go and check in, the same as you would check in into a hotel. Meet the crew. The crew will take you when you've checked in on that first arrival point. They'll take you off to your stateroom, deliver your bags for you, and then you're away to relax and enjoy the facilities and have a good look around. And up the stairs that you see there, that's where our cruise managers sit. So if you want to book tour excursions or have any information, any assistance, you go up and see them, and they're more than happy to help. And you can see the lift there. You just need to check if you've got mobility issues. Some of the lifts don't go to all of the decks, but to most of them. So just check if you have got issues, that you make sure that you're choosing the right holiday for you to get you up and down through the ship. So we have the main bar area here, the main lounge area, where you can see you've got the bar. Fabulous place to sit and relax and enjoy yourself. We have entertainment here. On the evening, so it might be the resident pianist, it might be a singer that comes on board. We have guest lecturers, and this is where our cruise managers will come of an evening and tell you all about the next day's excursions. So it's quite a lovely meeting point. And we have a sip and sail cocktail evening every evening, which is complimentary, and that's depends on the itinerary actually, but generally would be an hour before dinner, about 6 o'clock. Slightly, the times might vary. And lovely place, sit, relax. It's all glass around here, so you can sit out, so you can sit inside and watch the world go by while you're sipping your cocktail or your cup of tea, if that's your thing. So onto some of our staterooms. So you can see here one of our outside balcony staterooms. So there's a floor-to-ceiling window in this stateroom, and then you can see outside you've got your balcony. And we will be doing Riverside Dining, which is new for this year, where you can actually have your dinner served on your balcony if you so wish. So that's something new. All of these staterooms have got a TV in them. You can get live your music downloads on here. You can get up-to-date movies. You can use that for the internet. There's a refrigerator, so you can keep your waters and drinks cool in the room. Got plenty of wardrobe space. There's a safe there as well. And nice little touches, like we provide an umbrella just in case the weather's inclement. Little alarm clocks by the side of the bed, hand creams. There's a seating area, can't quite see it on this one actually, but there's a table and chairs in here, very spacious. We also have the next category down is we have a French balcony, where that's a floor to ceiling window, opens up but you can't step outside. And we also have the fixed windows. So those are the leading category, and we also have suites as well. On the leading category, we are above the waterline, so a few people do ask that question, but it's quite nice. You can look out and see all the ducks and the swans gliding by. One of the beauties, if you do have the budget to have a balcony, I think in the morning it's lovely sitting out there. Just as the world's opening up, you can see all the mists rolling down the river. You can see the lights coming on in the houses, and the towns and villages starting to come to life. Sit there with a cup of coffee and watch the world open up. It's just a really nice way to start your day. So on board the two ships that are sailing down the Douro, we have a small fitness room. So if you like to keep active and fit, then we have these gyms that you can help yourself to. Everything's complimentary. We also have a small spa area and a hairdresser. You do have to pre-book those, and there is a small charge, obviously, if you'd like to have a massage to start your day or have your hair spruced up for evening dinner, then you can spoil yourselves. Then onto the top of the ship here, we've got a small pool area where you can relax, especially when it's nice and hot in Portugal in the summertime. And you can see at the end there's a bit of a swim up bar there, so you can just do a couple of strokes down, grab yourself a G&T, kick back and watch the scenery go by. Absolutely fabulous. Plenty of seating area at the top deck, some loungers, you can get drinks served up there as well. And it's just really lovely to be able to see that fantastic scenery. So one of the beauties of obviously river cruising is, unlike on an ocean where you've got sea days and there's not a lot to see, there's always something to see because you are travelling through the heart of that country. And obviously on the Douro, you've got the UNESCO World Heritage Site of that Douro Valley, which Cesario will tell you all about that in more detail. Food, well, the food's just really important on all of our holidays. We are members of Le Champ de Rôtisserie, which is a French gastronomic society. And this is by invitation only. And every year the chefs have to take exams to make sure they can uphold those very high standards of the food that we have. And we have one evening during the week where we have a full-blown Champ de Rôtisserie evening with paired wines. And all the wines, drinks, soft drinks as well, are complimentary with both lunch and evening dinner. And I always like to say to people, because everybody's got different tastes within their food, you can get chips on board, burgers, pizzas, you can get absolutely everything, nice salmons, steaks, so there's food for everybody. If you're a vegetarian, lactose intolerant, you know, all most diets are catered for. The best thing to do is when you make your reservation with Simon or Alex, just tell them what your food requests are, and that comes down to the ship, so they can make sure we can accommodate your food tastes all throughout the sailing. And the chef will sit with you if you've got a special diet at the beginning, just make sure you're well catered for. But I know when I was a vegetarian, the food was amazing, and you know, you didn't go short. The food's bought daily and it's cooked fresh, and there's a little, we do all the pastries on board as well. And so this is the main restaurant on board. The two ships that we have are very similar. You can see here there's a variety of table sizes. So some people like, one of the questions we get asked is, are the tables for two? If you do like to sit on your own, then just ask the staff and they'll just take away two of the serving, so you've got that private dining if you prefer a table for two. But we don't have, you know, you can sit wherever you want, you don't have to sit on the same table, you can change your views, change who you sit with, no problem at all. And the dining, we don't have a set time. We usually, again, it's itinerary dependent on the days and what's happening, but say dining might be at 7 o'clock, then we say, please come down sort of between 7 and 8:30, but you're completely flexible on your dining times there. Now, we have traditionally done some buffet styles for breakfast and lunch, as well as full serve, but one of the protocols moving forward with the COVID situation is everything will actually be fully served menus moving forward. Cesario, I'm sure will tell you this, but on some of our other ships we have the chef's table, which is another speciality restaurant. Because these ships are slightly smaller, we don't have that, but we do have the option of doing some dining ashore. So I'll let Cesario tell you a little bit about that rather than me stealing his thunder. But just to let you know that some of the dining is a little bit different on these sailings. It's not all on board the ship. So just to recap there, I mentioned the drinks are on us. So we do the welcome sip and sail cocktail every evening, complimentary wines, spirits, cocktails, soft drinks as well. And then at lunchtime, you'll get your complimentary alcoholic beverages and soft drinks, also of an evening dinner. And then we've complimentary bottled water throughout the day. And there's also the 24-hour tea, coffee, hot chocolate stations as well. And believe me, the drink sizes are very generous. They're like, I call them American portions. And when you finish your evening dinner, you'll find that will top you up. So when you go up to the lounge afterwards for your entertainment and relaxing, you've still got your drink there. And the cost of drinks on board are, I would say, high street price if you go to a high street wine bar. I know when I looked at the menus last year, a glass of wine was about €5. Orange juice was about €2.50. Beers were from about €4. So it's really, you know, reasonably priced. In our cruises, we also include up to a choice of up to 4 complimentary shore excursions at each port. So there's lots of different excursions you can go on. Again, I'll leave Cesario to tell you all about those, but we do have an active side to our brand. So hiking is one of them. You can go on some hiking, and we do different pace groups as well, so everybody can keep up. So yeah, once you've made your reservation, you can have a look online and make your choices. You can probably book them through the system, or you can leave them till you're on board. And you're always welcome to change your minds as well. And we always run in small group sizes of no more than 20. Obviously, with the situation with COVID, we will go with whatever the restrictions are in the country. So if it's 10, we'll do 10. If it's 15, we'll do 15. So we'll monitor that. Obviously, things are quite fluid at the moment. So just to recap what we include within our packages: all your dining on board, your wine, beer and soft drinks with your lunch and evening meal, tea and coffee, bottled water, you've got your complimentary cocktail. We do free Wi-Fi, and we do spend more on Wi-Fi than we do on fuel, which is quite incredible. But we know that everybody likes to keep in touch. We do have a wellness program on our European cruises. It's not on the Douro. We have like a fitness instructor, again, because of the size of the ships. But if you do take another cruise with us, that's included. And then all of your shore excursions. And I will mention that on some of the European programs, we have bikes. Again, that's not available on the Douro because of the size of the ship, but it is available on all the other cruises that we have. So just a little map here to show you the other destinations we've travelled to apart from the Douro. So we have the rivers of France. We've got the Douro in the Bordeaux area. So if you're into your fine wines and dining and lots of culture, great areas to go there. We've got the River Zone, which is a new one for us this year. We go the northern France out of Paris. So if you're not into flying so much and want to do the train, that's great to get in and out of Paris very quickly. Goes down to the Normandy beaches. You can go and see Monet's garden there as well. Then as we move up into the Netherlands, we've got the Dutch ball fields, which are obviously really popular in the springtime. That itinerary proved so popular, we've actually extended it through the season till October. Obviously, the Dutch balls will have finished from the spring, but we do other garden interests as well. And if anybody's interested in gardening, for 2022, there's a big event operating in Aalsmeer, which is about 28 kilometres from Amsterdam, and that's called Floriade. And some of our itineraries, especially down the Rhine, will be doing day trips into Floriade. So Floriade, for those of you not familiar, is an event that takes place every 10 years, and it's a bit like Hampton Court Chelsea Flower Show, but much, much bigger. There's big zones, there's food and entertainment, but it's really great if you're into the garden scene. And those Amsterdam itineraries, again, great to connect with the rail. Moving through the countries, so Germany, so we've got the River Main, we've got the Moselle, we've also got the Rhine, which is one of our top sellers, and then the Danube, the Upper Danube, and Neusiedl, actually last year was the Lower Danube. So that's all the old Eastern European blocks. If you've done the Upper Danube before, what's something different, try that, starting from Budapest. It's going through Hungary and Czechoslovakia, the Czech Republic through Slovakia, and it's going down to Serbia, Romania, Bulgaria, ending up in Gizu in Romania. And you can do connections and go over to Istanbul for a weekend as well if you want to, or stay over in Bulgaria and go to Brasov. All of our programme through Europe, you can do pre and post. So you can go to Paris for a few days, you can go to Budapest, you can go to Lake Como, Lake Lucerne. So depending on the itinerary, we can always extend from a 7-night and do a few nights either side. Those packages come with breakfast in a 4- or 5-star hotel, and all your excursions are included as well. They're guided by our cruise managers, but Alex and Simeon will be able to give you a full range of information on those. So the rest of the world, apart from Europe, we do Vietnam, Cambodia, down the Mekong. Again, you can tie that up. It's a 7-night cruise. Tie that up with land base, go to Siem Reap, Ho Chi Minh. You can go up to Bangkok as well. So there's a whole range of excursions included and land-based options. Same with our Africa programme, 4 nights on the Chobe. It's a long way to go for 4 nights. We tie that up with a minimum of 9 nights. That's doing Cape Town and also Victoria Falls. You can tie that up and go gorilla trekking if you want to in Rwanda. You can go down to the Kruger, which I did myself a couple of years ago, which was absolutely fantastic, amazing. You can go to the Serengeti, so a whole host of options there. And the final one is Egypt. It's a new programme for us this September. It's on a brand new ship called the Amadalia. We're doing 3 nights in Cairo, fly down to Luxor, week cruising down the Nile, taking in all those fantastic temples, all that history and culture. A night back at the end in Cairo. And whilst you're in Cairo, you'll do all the King Tut's Tutankhamun's Museum, Pyramids of Giza, the Sphinx, Cairo town, and the palace. You get all the excursions in that you would expect to have if you were visiting Cairo, and you can do extensions in Amman, Jordan, Dubai, and also in Tel Aviv. I'm going to now hand you over to our lovely cruise manager, who's going to tell you all about the fantastic Douro Valley. So over to you, Cesario.
Thank you, Rachel. Well, thank you all for joining us, and thank you for inviting me for this presentation. Well, my name is Cesaria Santos. I was born and raised in Porto, Portugal. I left the country young, working on big ocean liners, and actually then I returned to Portugal to work on a river cruise on the Douro Valley. This was quite an amazing experience because being local, I knew the region, but I didn't know the region from the river perspective, which is unbelievable. It's a completely different experience. So I fell in love. I worked 5 years only on the Douro. And when I joined AmaWaterways, it's now 7 years, I worked in all of the itineraries. But of course, the Douro Valley is, well, actually one of the questions that we get all the time as a cruise manager, doesn't matter where we are, in France, Germany, is what's your favorite one? And I don't have a favorite one. I think they all, and as Rachel mentioned, all these beautiful itineraries, they all have something special to offer. The Douro Valley, in my opinion, is the river, is the valley itself. I mean, it's just an explosion of beauty. The scenery, well, as Rachel mentioned before, is actually considered World Heritage Site, the wine region of the Douro Valley. So as you can see, this is a good picture of the valley because you have the slopes, you're navigating on the valley, left and right, always with the wine terraces, mostly terraces or slopes, and is the entire wine region all the way to the Spanish border. The reason why these shippers are, the ships we have, Amavida and Amador, are smaller is because we have to negotiate 5 locks up the river, and these locks are actually, the ship was built to fit inside the lock. And we have the highest lock in one single lift in Porto, which is the Carrapatelo, which is, you lift, well, the water difference is 35 meters. It's also not only the landscape, but the scenery and the navigation is quite spectacular. So if we move along to the next one, I can talk now a little bit more. Well, okay, this is Porto, that right there is actually, this is Porto, this is home, and this is actually the Amavida sail. And as you can see, if you just see on the last slide, you see the ocean, the Atlantic Ocean is right there. And actually, in all our navigations, we take you, our captains take you to the ocean and back, because it's really just a mile away from where we dock, which is where the ship is right now. Like you see the famous, the icon of Porto, which was built not by Eiffel itself, but one of his students. And you see a cloister of this monument here is actually because we have a huge, well, heritage with Britain. I mean, in fact, the Duke of Wellington overnight here in this monastery, the Serra do Pilar, to help the Portuguese expel the Napoleon invasion. So this is actually a place where he overnight with his troops. Not only that heritage, obviously also with port wine. I mean, it's a huge heritage with Britain. If you see all the port wine companies, Sandman, Coburn, they're all from Britain. When France and the UK and Britain start having problems in the late 1600s, is where we start exporting wine to England. So it's a lot of, you're gonna learn a lot of heritage and history that goes back together with the two countries. Yeah. So this is my hometown, and this is definitely a wonderful place to visit. You see on the left side of the screen, you have all the port wine cellars. It's just a few steps. This is the typical landscape of the wine of the region. It's all, I mean, we have here, we leave Porto, we negotiate the first lock, and from the first lock, well, a few miles up east, then is all wine region divided in 3 sub-regions. Was mentioned in the last slide that we only navigate during the time. It's true. It's actually the only itinerary that I know that we do not navigate during the nighttime, because the river has a lot of narrow passes that it is not possible to navigate during the night. Nevertheless, it's great because you do your programs, your tours, and you enjoy the entire navigation as well. Okay, so this is Lisbon. This is the monument of the discoveries we have here. I think we're gonna have a slide showing that, but we have two different programs on. In Portugal, we have a regular program a week. Here we go, the Enticing Douro, and then you have the flavors of Portugal and Spain. I mean, I always recommend, it depends on the time, obviously 15 days, you have more offers on excursions, and in the 15 days one, the flavors in Portugal of Spain, you start either in Lisbon or in Madrid, because you can start in both, depends on the dates. And in the Enticing Douro, you start in Lisbon, you do the program. Lisbon is an amazing city that you have so much to do. We visit. This was one of the monuments, the Belém Tower. Lisbon is full of wonderful museums, from the Tiles Museum, Fado Museum. We visit Sintra, which is that when you see the number 3 there, is actually the most western point of Europe, and is a fairy tale place. And then we take you to Porto, visit Tomar, which is a place near Lisbon where we visit the castle of the Knight Templar, and then we go to Porto when we embark the ship. If you do the Enticing Douro, what's going to happen is you go up and downstream in 1 week. If you do the flavors of Portugal and Spain, you go either up or down, but very slowly. So basically, you overnight more, you stay longer in ports, and in the Douro, what you can find is really very small, quaint little towns. This is very, very small. We have places there with 150 inhabitants. It's like a voyage back in time. It's quite unbelievable how humble, these people, they have their own garden where they get up in the morning, they go get the lettuce, they go back, they cook lunch. It is an amazing experience, and people are so really friendly. I mean, if they see you passing by, they might invite you home to eat something. So that happened already before. So it's quite an experience. So these are the 2 itineraries we offer in the Douro. So as mentioned, this is then the 7-night cruise. Again, this is a typical Rebelo boat, and there are so many funny stories about these boats, because this is true. I mean, again, the wine production with Britain played, I mean, actually the most important role for the Portuguese. We export a lot of wine there, but the wine, the port wine, is produced in the Douro, but was aged right here in Porto, so they had to transport the wine down, and they transport in these boats. And this was, I mean, once you see the river, you're gonna see they were like, sorry, the word kamikazes going down this river, because the stream was so strong before the locks that they were transporting the barrels down, and then it took like a week to come down, but afterwards it took them like 2 weeks to bring back the Rebelo boats, but because they need animals to pull them up. You know, and an interesting fact is that they didn't care much about the sailor, but they did care about wine. So these barrels were only out full because in case the boat had an accident or capsize, the barrels eventually will flow all the way down to port, and they will catch the barrels. Yeah.
Smart then, aren't they?
So we can move along now to the next slide. It's not necessary to tell you that gastronomy, I mean, in Britain, I mean, we have gastronomy in Portugal is absolutely fantastic. I mean, that's why we have gyms as well. So it is good to know, because the food is unbelievable. And I know that British guests, they love our cuisine, and it is true. It's very rich because it's very eclectic. You know, you have every single little town in Portugal has some specialty. Wine, obviously, and of course, as Rachel mentioned, we're going to talk about tours, but this is all included. I mean, with the meals, and port wine, of course, is part of our tradition. But you know, not only. I mean, if you like a wine lover, you will see that Portugal, I mean, especially Douro Valley, has very high rated, very high quality wines, and actually quite reasonable price in Portugal. I mean, we used to say that wine is cheaper than water in Portugal, so that's why we drink wine, you know, because it is really very good quality. And port, obviously, and we take you on excursions to visit the port wine cellars as well. Okay, so more wine and more food when I'm talking. We have, Rachel mentioned, we're very flexible in everything. Meals, we have breakfast, but we have an early riser breakfast, we have a late riser breakfast, and then we have lunch, even at dinner. You know, I work for a few companies, and it's like, you need to be there on time. Oh, we'll be flexible. I mean, if you open dinner at 7 o'clock, you can come 8, 7:30, 7:45. It's up to you. We know we are flexible and everything. Excursion is exactly the same. If you book for excursion with me or with the cruise manager, and then you want to change because you met some new friend, that's all fine. And it's all included. It's all inclusive. It's all complimentary. This place, Dinner Quinta da Veleda, I must tell you, is probably one of the it's just a tour and a winery, because you have so many beautiful wines, but this one is, I call it a botanic garden that produces wine. It's not a winery for me. It's just a botanic garden that it's so beautiful, the gardens. And of course, they produce Vinho Verde, which is a different type. But most of British people know Vinho Verde. It's a more light and refreshed wine. Pinhão here, for this picture, is the heart of the Douro Valley. From Pinhão comes the top and high-rated sport wines. I mean, Wine Spectator 2014 named, they always do, they sample 18,000 wines a year. They do a top 100, and then on the top 4 from this 100, 3 were from the Douro Valley, including the best wine in the world, according to this magazine that comes right from here, which was the Dow's Vintage Port 2011. So this is the place where the high-quality wines are produced. And as you can see also, the terraces, this is a good example of the terraces, the way we produce. We have different types. We have vertical row plantations, we have stone terraces, and this we call patamares. So it's slightly different, depends on the wine you produce, depends. But this is, if you imagine the entire stretch like this, it looks like a painting. Yeah. So we're going to move along. And I think we have Quinta da Vassada next, isn't it? This is, I know, or Salamanca. Well, either if you do entice or both, enticing Douro or the flavors of Portugal and Spain, you will visit Salamanca. The only difference is if on the enticing Douro, you go as a day tour, we take you out. This is the Plaza Mayor. And I know, I mean, Spain has some beautiful Plaza Mayor. They mean the main square of the city. Spain has some beautiful ones, but I think the Salamanca one is one of the most beautiful main squares. As you can see, it's quite impressive. We take on the tour, and in Salamanca is full of, you know, one of the oldest university in Europe. This stone, the Villa Mayor stone, is very rich in iron, so that gives it, when the sun is out, it looks like the golden city. It's flat. The good thing about Salamanca is all flat. I mean, you can walk and walk. Great shopping opportunities, great food, of course, Spain in tapas, and we take you there. We have lunch in the 5-star hotel, which is all included. It's all inclusive. We take you out, and of course, we're gonna taste the specialties in Spain, which is paella, the jamon, the cheeses, a lot of wine, and this is obviously a great experience as well. If you do the enticing Douro, we'll bring you back to the ship. If you're doing the long version, either depending on the way, if you're going to Madrid, then is a stop we do, and then we'll continue to Madrid in the same day to our hotel. Well, flamenco, this is, we have two, I mean, in the enticing Douro, we have a flamenco show only for us. Usually it's with lunchtime. Actually, in both, we do that. But there is probably, I think, the only optional excursion that we have in the entire, I mean, we have only a few options that is an extra charge for that. Only a few, and I mean, in the entire itinerary in Europe, only a few. And the flamenco show is complimentary for everybody. And it's actually the dancers, they come to the hotel. But also in Madrid, if you're doing Madrid, there is another option to go. But the one we go is Corral de la Moreria, which is considered the best tablao, the best flamenco show. Well, it was considered the best flamenco show in the entire Spain. This is an optional, but everybody during lunch, we have a flamenco show ready for you as well at the hotel. Well, okay, this is the Quinta da Vassada. If you recall the picture, I tell you where the top wine qualities come, Pinhão. This is just a short ride, 20 minutes. Beautiful. This is one of the most beautiful roads. It's a winding road doing the contours of the hill. Well, we can call it mountain. It's just a small hill, but this is like 500 meters, 1,500 feet. Well, yeah, 1,200 feet altitude. And In the 19th century, the Port Wine Institute said every wine, any wine farm, any winery that is above 500 meters cannot produce port wine anymore. It is forbidden. It was a big problem for all these farmers that lived up in this hill, because you go up the hill and then it's all flat. It's an amazing scenery, and you look down the Douro Valley, it's really, really beautiful. So they start producing a different wine, which is a Muscat wine, the same process, fortified like port, but only with one single grape. Port can have 5 or 7. And this family, which is a family, the brother is playing the drums, the fathers are there, the mothers are there. It's just a family farm, and you just enter this farm and you feel like you are at home. They're so welcome, they're so warm, and they were the starting. Actually, the grandfather started a cooperative producing this wine. And what we do there is just, we go there, we visit the farm, music all the time, we dance, we drink wine, we have lunch there, and then we don't want to leave anymore, but we have to. So then we'll go back to the This is Quinta da Vesada. So maybe we can move to the next one. Well, this you're going to see a lot in Portugal. Tiles. Of course, we became popular. Portugal became very popular for the blue and white tiles. This is a church actually in Porto, but there are actually in Lisbon you have the Tiles Museum, which I highly recommend it to visit. You gotta understand, it's a long story, but of course we know that 400 or 500 years ago many people were illiterate, so they didn't know how to read, or so actually this will most of the times were representing something. It was teaching something to the people, but it was a storyteller. But the tiles also play a role as protecting the buildings also from rains and from humidities. As you can see, some of these tiles, they've been 300-400 years old and they are intact. This is one of the examples. You have another one which is on our itinerary as well, which is the Sombento train station in Porto, where our guides, I mean, they have to hurry up to explain you what is all there in 45 minutes, because you could stay almost a day long explain you what happened. Is the life in Porto, the life in the Douro is a representative of the entire history of the region, which is very impressive. So this, you're going to see a lot of tiles in the country as well. Well, I think we can move to the next one. I mentioned already 3 nights in Lisbon. This is Lisbon. Lisbon, you find a mixture of, I mean, Porto was never, I mean, you know that the Arabs, the Moors, they were in the Iberian Peninsula in southern Spain. If you go to Andalusia, is the best example, until Lisbon. So you're going to see very different architectures there in Lisbon. We call it the city of the 7 hills. So it is very hilly, Lisbon. But the good thing is that they have these tuk-tuks now, so you can take a tuk-tuk and explore. We take you to the western part. Actually, we take you to the biggest highlights with the monastery, the San Jeroen Monastery, the Monument of Discoveries, as we saw before, the Belém Towers. We take you there, and then we give, you know, we like to give people also time to explore on their own. So we leave you downtown, and you can explore the city. Lots of museums, as mentioned, but also great gastronomy. The water that you see there is actually a river that there's the River Tagus that in some spots is 10 miles wide. It's quite a huge river, and it's really a lot to do in Lisbon. As mentioned, we can maybe move Rachel to the next slide. As mentioned before, we also have Sintra, which is Sintra is a little fairy tale. This is, for instance, an example of the little streets of Lisbon and the trams that you can ride. I mean, we cruise managers are always with you. That's also something very important to understand. We cruise managers are always with the guests. So we don't, you know, most of the companies, the cruise managers on board, and you have local hosts. Now we start and we end with all our guests. If we do the flavor of Portugal in Spain, and I'm your cruise manager, I hope to see you. So I will start with you in Lisbon and until Madrid, until you go safe and sound to the airport, and then I'm going home. So I'm the first one arriving and the last one leaving, also in the land programs. Look at this beautiful thing. This is the Pena Castle in Sintra that we also visit, and the views, of course, you can see this is quite amazing there. Sintra is roughly 30 minutes away from Lisbon. We take you there. Is well, and we'll be back around 2:30 p.m. and we back to Lisbon. And obviously, we do a lot of tastings. I mean, almost everywhere we go. For a year, we try a local wine and some local pastry as well in Sintra, and we visit the Pena Palace, which is quite unbelievable as well. Yeah. I'm feeling like going on the cruise now, right? And port wine, obviously, I just feel I'm looking for port wine. Yeah, I mean, actually, the history of port wine is very simple. If you're interested, is thanks to Britain. We used to export to the Netherlands because at that time when they were already at the West and Eastern Indies, they were wealthy. They could buy some wine for us. But when we start really exporting wine to England, they decided, I mean, sometimes it was a long journey, okay, Biscay, the rough seas, and sometimes the wine arrived not in a very good shape in England. Sometimes somebody had a brilliant idea to add a little brandy, which is actually not brandy, it's something similar, a little brandy to preserve the wine for the journey. And they did it, and it was actually worked out until one day somebody made a mistake, and things happen by mistake, to add the brandy during the fermentation process, and they stopped the fermentation. Well, voila, port wine was created. You know, that's actually the history of the port wine. And we have different types of port wine. I mean, white is very popular now. It's actually very good. We have the rubies, the vintage, and now we have the rosé, which obviously the old farmers, they don't like it very much, but it's, you know, it's very refreshing. And the white port, I mean, if you like gin and tonic, try one day. Actually, it's a wonderful summer drink. It's not as strong as gin, but if you try white port with tonic water and a little lemon on it, it's really, really a great summer drink. Yeah. I think I've been talking a lot about wine. Here we go again. Vinho Verde is in fact very popular. I mean, I know I have a lot of British friends. They come visit me and they like it because it's light, it goes very well. It's a region that goes from Porto up north all the way to Spain. Japanese now, I mean, the biggest market of Vinho Verde is Japanese because of sushi. It goes fantastic with sushi, and it's not too strong, so it's a very light wine, a little bit more acid. Food again, cod. Cod is very interesting. We are the number 3 country in the world that eats more fish per capita. First is Iceland, second is Japan, and we are, because we have so much fish. We have a coast. If you see the Portuguese islands, the Madeira and the Azores, all that coast is Portuguese waters. But the fish number 1 that we eat, we don't have it, which is cod. I mean, we import all the cod from Newfoundland, from Norway. But of course, this goes back to the navigators period, and the cod was something easy to just salt or dry and preserve. And that's the reason why cod is so popular nowadays. I mean, now the festivities, I don't know how many tons of cod were sold because everybody eats cod. So this is definitely, we have a book with 365 different recipes of cod, and it's really delicious. This one here, I think, is cod brass, but it's really delicious. You have so many ways of eating. And of course, our cod is salted. It's hard to find fresh cod in Portugal. Yeah. Okay, so should we talk about, now I'm hungry. Oh, there we go, food again. You know, we need to, the pastéis de nata and the belém, you need to understand that, of course, the monks and the monasteries, they use a lot of egg whites to whitening the habits, and with the egg yolks, that's to do something. So you're gonna find this, we call the conventual pastries in Portugal. You're gonna find a lot of pastries made with egg yolks. Was actually, they thought, what can I do with the egg yolks? And the pastéis de nata, actually original called pastéis de belém, is an old secret recipe from the monastery of Saint Jerome that then a shop in Porto, in Lisbon, sorry, just nearby, bought that recipe. So you understand, they sell like, I think it's like 20,000 a day in a regular day, and like weekends and holidays, they go up to 40, 50,000. So you understand how important is the original recipe, that the brothers that of course, took that from the grandparents. The brothers that have the original recipe, when they fly, it's like the royal family. They fly in different planes, because if something happened to one of them, the other has a recipe. Yeah? So this is tradition, and we take you there. Actually, I don't want to spoil the surprise, but usually I go there and I buy for everybody on behalf of the company and distribute, so you try. It's delicious. Just a egg yolk is the puff pastry tart. So you can add a little cinnamon, and you eat it usually warm, and is absolutely delicious. Now, the other, all over the country you're going to find them, but the original recipe is the one near the monastery of San Jeron in Lisbon. Yeah. Oh, now I'm hungry as well. In Cork, I mean, Portugal is great. I mean, it's great for gastronomy, restaurants, and it's actually, I mean, when I compare Portugal to other European countries, I always say Portugal, the good things in life are not expensive, like accommodations, restaurants, good wines, shopping is not expensive. We have other things that are expensive, but that's actually not expensive. Pork products, I mean, we are, I think, if I'm not mistaken, we produce 65% of the world cork. And cork, we always associate to a bottle stopper. Yeah, not only. I mean, if you go to space shuttles, they use cork in the construction of space shuttles, because cork is soundproof, I mean, cork doesn't burn, is light, is a extremely resistant material. And the cork, the bottle stopper, that, as we know, when in this what we call new worlds, like United States, Australia, New Zealand, Argentina, Chile, they start producing wine and becoming very powerful also in the wine world, they start using plastic corks. Which I tell you, Portuguese are a little bit conservative on that. If a plastic cork in Portugal, nobody will buy a bottle of wine if it has a plastic cork, because we think, you know, why you have a natural product when why use, I don't know, petrol and oil and something that you can have natural. Obviously, the cork is more expensive. You know, if it's a white wine, you have this screw top is fine. For the red, you need to put a plastic cork. Do that, some of the major factories that produce cork start saying, well, we need to reinvent ourselves, because, you know, that was a huge loss when all these plastic stop bottles start showing up, and then they start innovating and creating this, purses, ties, hats, shoes. It's unbelievable that what you can find on cork products in Portugal. I mean, and then of course you see people start now, famous people started wearing a purse somewhere in New York, and then, well, what is that for? So cork products, it is really huge. You can buy almost anything in cork right now. This is Spain, saffron. I mean, saffron is this is the original saffron. Obviously, if you go to a regular restaurant, they might use some powder, which is really not the same, because saffron is the most expensive spice in the world. It's because the harvesting of saffron is very difficult, and saffron is what gives that yellow color in your paella. If you had a paella before, that's saffron. Is a very exclusive spice and condiment. And you have the opportunity, when we go to Salamanca, we usually show you where to purchase this. This is like a little piece of gold there, but it's actually some places that you can buy a couple of grams just to take home in the market in Salamanca, and is easy to get it there, saffron, actually in Spain. So this is, now we're going to talk the Madrid extension. Madrid is, I mean, this is the Royal Palace. Our Madrid tour, Madrid is obviously a bigger city. We take you off on a bus and on a coach, and then we walk a little, and we take you to the Royal Palace. We take you to the Plaza Mayor, the main square, and all that there. Because actually, a good thing about the Madrid is that our hotel is in the best location. So it's actually, we use one of my favorite hotels in Madrid, which is very close to the Plaza Santa Ana, to the main square. So it's actually, we go around and then we stop with a bus and we walk all the way, passing by the Royal Palace, the Plaza, the main square, and we walk back to the hotel. Oh, we can move maybe Rachel on the next slide. This is another tour we take you. It's actually, I don't know if you recall, I told you about that huge river in Lisbon that can be 10 miles wide. This is the river. It comes from here. This looks like a little creek. Is you know, if you come from Lisbon and you come with us to Madrid, and I tell you, this is the Tagus, you don't believe that river is the river one in Lisbon. This is unbelievable. This Toledo, actually, Toledo was the most important religious spot in Spain. The Cathedral of Toledo, it is one of the most beautiful cathedrals, in my opinion, I haven't seen. So it's really worth it. And this is just a little fairy tale thing as well. I mean, very narrow streets. We drive from Madrid around an hour. We get there and then we spend all day and we take you back. It is a wonderful tour. You see the cathedral there. It is a wonderful tour, beautiful landscape, and you have the feeling that you're going back on time. When you enter, it's like a little citadel. Toledo is quite impressive. So this is also another tour. Again, is all inclusive in our program. Yeah.
Well, thank you for that, Cesario. That's fantastic to have that insight into the Douro and the different options available. And I'm sure we're all really excited to come on board and see you doing your stuff on board. So hopefully we'll see you later on in the year. But thank you very much for imparting all of that information. I just wanted to touch very briefly on protocols that we have. Just to let you know, we haven't sailed for the majority of last year. We did run some charters down the Rhine for the German market, so we had a tour operator that chartered the Ama Cristina, and we put together some protocols to keep everybody safe. So those protocols included the staff wearing face coverings, and then as guests you were just asked to use the face coverings when you moved around the ship, but when you're obviously at dinner or in the lounge area you didn't have to use those. And we have put some perspex screens up in the lounge area as well. So it's all about you still having the full enjoyment of the cruise with some safeties in place. Obviously, you get a lot of opportunities to be outside, to explore ashore, on the top deck as well. So you've got plenty of fresh air around you. We've always traditionally done those small groups for tours, and those will change depending on the local rules and regulations. And we have the quiet boxes where you wear the little headphones in with the boxes, so your tour guide's ahead and you can hear, and again you can adhere to social distancing. We've always had exceptionally high standards of cleaning on board, but those have been upped, and all cruise lines, when you go into dinner, they have the little disinfectants that you can put on your hands when you go in, so there's plenty of those around the ship. All of these staterooms have got their own air conditioning units, so unlike some ships where it's all circulated round the ship, each room has got their own unit in, so again that's much better from a safety perspective. We've introduced safe dining, and what that means is any time we'd traditionally got some sort of buffet styles, that's all been taken away, and we've put in full service, and then that brand new dinner river dining as well. If you wanted to have dining in your stateroom or in your balcony, that's a new option. And then we've also got no visitors on board. We've traditionally, if people have come along, so we love the look of your ship, can we come and have a look? We've been very generous to let people have a look around, but now we've obviously had to tighten up on that, so there's only guests and crew available. You will fill in your cruise questionnaire at the beginning, which just checks your health. There'll be temperature checks taken as well. But we have on our website got a little video if you want to click on, or Alex or Simeon can actually send you a copy if that'll give you the link to that, so you can check the updates. So we're moving with all the rules and regulations all the time to keep everybody safe moving forward as well. We've got some great offers on. I'm going to hand over to Alex and Simeon just to mention those, just to let you know we are on sale this year, we're on sale next year, and in hopefully the first week in February we're going to be going on sale in 2023, because we appreciate people are looking a bit further out. Currently at the moment we've got an ultimate cruise flexible insurance policy, which is included for your European sailings as well. And Simeon and Alex can give you information on that to assist you if you're looking at booking. But I'll hand over to you to just say about your 18th of June departure and the discounts available.
Okay, thank you, Rachel. Thank you, Cesaria. Okay. Thank you. The reason that we put this webinar together was to really give you a flavour for a cruise that we are doing as an exclusive group, which is next year. So hopefully everybody's got some time in their diary that they can think, okay, let's do the Douro. So we've taken some cabins on the enticing Douro without the Lisbon extension, but obviously if you're interested in that, we can look at that. And at the moment, for the attendees of this webinar, we have got an exclusive extra discount on top of the prices that we already have. So it's going on the AmaDouro, as I said, the 18th of June, and obviously we can get flights from the UK or abroad, and we'd love to speak to you about it. We've chosen this one. We love the Douro, but we think that this cruise on the Douro with Ama is one of the best. And so that's why we're sort of committing to this and saying we think our customers should go on this cruise because of those extra touches, the ship itself, and just that the Douro is absolutely beautiful. And as you can see, if you've been on other river cruises, it's different from sort of going on the Rhine or the Danube because of the scenery and because of it being in Portugal. The wine and the food, as Cesario said, you know, we're all hungry and we now want to go and explore all of this, these wonderful things that there are on offer. So it's just really a case of, if you are interested, you know, please have a think about it. Do give us a ring. We're here to have a chat and to take you through it in more detail. Obviously, if you can't make that date and you're interested in going at another time, then again, we can help you out with that. Yep. I'm very, very excited to do this, even though, you know, we're in January now, 2021. It's nice to plan, and hopefully, fingers crossed, we'll get through all this and we'll have the Douro to look forward to. I know we've already booked some existing customers on this one and who are already excited about going. So hopefully we can tempt you, and yeah, we look forward to speaking to you.
Right, so
thanks for coming.
Well, I'll open up to any questions now. There's a chat box that you can actually chat, so you can type a question in there. There's also a little symbol of a hand, so if you press that to raise your hand, we can actually take you off mute because everybody's muted at the moment. And we also appreciate that you might feel a bit uncomfortable asking on this situation, so, you know, please email Alex and Simeon with your questions and they'll be able to answer those. I've just had one in earlier. It was asking a bit about the dress code. Cesario, what do clients, what sort of dress code that's expected on board the ships?
The Douro, we don't have, we stopped having this formal dress codes. I mean, smart casual. We don't do I mean, we call it galas, but we know all these restrictions with luggage in our days. You know, back in the days, you used to take your tuxedos. I mean, we are very flexible on that as well. Of course, we only recommend for restaurant, dinner time, no pants, no shorts. And of course, if we have a captain's dinner, maybe just a light jacket, that's it. I mean, it's really no need even for ties anymore. So we're very, very flexible dress codes. If we're talking about the Douro right now, the Douro, the good thing is actually that I didn't mention before, the Douro is good to go any time of the year. If you go in March, you see the blossom. If you go in the summer, the temperatures go a little bit up high, but it is dry, so it's very comfortable. There's no humidity at all. If you go in fall, then you see the different brown, yellowish colors of the vineyards. But if you go in the summer, take light clothes. It can get a bit hot, especially when you go close to the Spanish border. And if you go in fall, I will recommend to take something. I mean, the night can cool down a little bit during when the sun goes down. Well, that's it.
I'll just see. I don't think there's any more questions coming in there.
Well, as you say, Rachel, we are available for questions. If anybody's got anything that they'd like to ask specifically, we can, obviously, you can call us or drop us an email at Global River Cruising, and we can help you out with those. So
fantastic.
We'll close off now. Thank you all for joining us. The video, there will be a video of this webinar if you'd like to go through it again. So, and that will be sent out, and we'll get that in the next few days. We'll get that organised for you. Thank you again. I hope we have enthused you and excited you about the Douro and obviously river cruising in general. Any inquiries, please do come through to us. And thank you to Rachel and Cesario for taking the time to join us and really get us excited. And we're now off to find some food and
yes, and drink. Yeah, that's lovely. Thank you, everybody.
Thanks.
Bye-bye.
Take care. Bye-bye.
Yeah, thank you everybody. Take care. Bye-bye. All the best. Bye-bye.